Coming up, the nationwide spread of monkeypox comes to the 4 states as Missouri reports its 25th case.
Skywatch Storm Tracker is quiet this morning, but there's a few changes on the way. We'll tell you all about them in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And kids in Carthage get back to school with a little help from Bright Futures, who gives away almost 1,000 backpacks filled with school supplies.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. It was pretty foggy this morning. I don't know if you ran into any of that. In Joplin, of course, clear as it could be. And then as soon as I got into the outlying areas outside of Carl Junction coming in here, boy, I ran into some thick patches of fog. Yeah, that's the other thing, though, is it was pretty just patchy. It wasn't everywhere.
I noticed it in about a 3-mile radius around the TV station.
Yeah, I think the station's probably generating the fog. It's our more power antenna. It's got the power to generate fog.
He's making this up.
I am making it up. The only thing it's got the power to do is, provide a much stronger signal to the 4 states, which is why we've been doing the More Power Tour, which, by the way,
takes us to Coffeyville.
Yeah.
Yay!
We're going to Coffeyville today. We'll be there at noon, 5 and 6. So that should be a good time. We're visiting with folks from the Brown Mansion and the Dalton Gang Museum that's down there. Should be a lot of fun.
And you even have a chance to win a Roku TV?
Yes,
Not
you
you,
do.
but you.
No, yeah, I don't. I was going to say, I certainly do not have this chance. And it's, if I understand correctly, because I think I said this last week during the noon, it was a Roku TV. It's not an actual TV. It's, one of those USB things you can plug into your TV and make it a Roku TV.
I think I misunderstood too.
See, I think I did too, and then I realized, now I could be wrong, and the bosses may come in later and be like, it's an actual TV. But I think it's just the little Roku, stick. Okay, Tim's telling me that, yes, it is, just the stick, right?
Which allows you to get
it's
a
not
lot
a full
of cool
TV.
Stuff, so.
It's a stick. So, but either way, Roku's pretty cool. I bought a TV that had Roku on it not long ago. Okay, it's been a while ago. And it's an interesting experience, the things that it offers. So if you don't have one and you're like, man, I don't know if I need that, believe me, you need it. You absolutely need it. So make sure you visit us at noon, 5 and 6, for your chance to win. The weather's going to be really nice for today, too, as well. Take a look. Skywatch Storm Tracker, still some spotty shower activity down across eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas. Nothing in our immediate area. 7th and range line. Now again in the city, it is not foggy. It is clear, but there's patchy fog in some of the outlying areas that you need to watch out for this morning. 63. It was a cool story. I had to actually turn my defroster on the windshield because moisture kept building up on it on the outside, which was not a fun experience considering that it's August. And take a look at some of these temperatures. Fort Scott, for example, is at 59 degrees. 59. 63 Pittsburgh, 63 Neosho, and 61 in Grove. Now, as we go through the rest of the day, it will warm up. Afternoon highs pushing the mid-80s, which will be pretty nice. There is a chance of an isolated storm or two, mostly on the Missouri side with a nice east breeze. Cooling off again tonight. Temperatures getting back down into the lower 60s by the time we start tomorrow. And then we have some additional storm chances that we'll talk about heading into the weekend here in just a few minutes.
All right. Well, a lot to talk about. We like the rain, so.
We do, and boy, we are in line for more and more of it, which, again, we need. Crazy thing, though, I wanted to point this out. Doug mentioned it last night. We are actually 1.5 inches above average for rainfall. But a reminder, the majority of that rain fell in May. So even though we're technically for the year 1.5 inches above where we should be, it just stopped after May. We had like a monsoon month and then it just quit. So we still need this rain regardless of what the averages say.
All right. Yeah, we definitely do. And as we can have seen, the rain is bringing us cooler temperatures. So
yeah, it's keeping August temperatures in check. So it's not been too bad this month compared to July, compared to just a month ago where we were baking. It's been pretty good. It's been nice.
All right. Well, we probably should move along.
Well, I guess we should. We've got other things to talk about.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Well, the number of monkeypox cases in the state of Missouri rise to 25. The CDC also says the total number of confirmed monkeypox cases nationwide is nearing 13,000. A Newton County health official says they're closely monitoring the situation and still trying to figure out other ways the virus might spread.
So with flu season, COVID, monkeypox, if you feel sick or you observe something on your body that's out of the ordinary, certainly we ask you to seek medical advice.
Now, later in the show, our own Jalen Banks talks with Newton County Health Department about its plans for dealing with the virus. And Crawford County election officials will wrap up their recount of ballots for the Value Them Both amendment. In total, 9 Kansas counties saw recounts on the amendment following a request by pro-life supporters. According to county officials, Crawford County overall remained a no-vote county, the only in southeast Kansas.
Our elections are very secure in the state of Kansas. Here in Crawford County, we have an excellent reputation. Our votes have come out pretty darn close, so yeah, it will not change anything.
Lusker did not release specific recount numbers. Crawford County is the only county in the area that had a recount on the question. Coming up in our 6 o'clock show, our KOAM's own Shagun Bombadali takes us to Crawford County for a closer look at the recount. Cherokee County, Kansas Emergency Management is temporarily lifting its countywide burn ban thanks to a recent rainfall. It will be lifted for the rest of this week, and officials say they will reassess next week if it should be put back into place. Missouri Supreme Court calls halt to a solar energy tax break that's been part of Missouri law for nearly a decade. The court struck down a 2013 state law granting property tax exemptions for certain solar energy systems. Justices said the tax break was not allowed under the state constitution. And an Oklahoma lawmaker sues for records of expenditures from the governor's coronavirus relief fund for education. Federal audit in July sharply criticized state officials' lack of oversight and accountability and how they used nearly $40 million in funds intended for education. Republican Representative Logan Phillips filed the open records lawsuit and says Governor Kevin Stitt has not responded to his document request. Stitt says Phillips failed to attend meetings scheduled to show him the documents. Well, some good news for teachers as we embark on the fall semester. Educators who pay out of pocket for school supplies will now be able to get a bit more back on their taxes. The IRS announced teachers can deduct up to $300 worth of classroom necessities. That's up from the previous limit of $250. It's the first increase in 20 years, and it comes as schools across the country face staffing shortages. Although inflation has cooled down a bit, prices across the board are still highly elevated. Some kids put the school year on their back at an event on Wednesday. Kids in Carthage were able to get some school supplies ahead of the school year. Bright Futures hosted an event at the Bridge Church to hand out backpacks filled with school supplies, almost 1,000 of them, in fact. Organizers say they want every kid to start off school on the right foot.
Oh, this is why I do what I do. I've got the greatest job in the world. I work for the greatest school district in the world. I live in the greatest community in the world, getting to do the greatest things in the world, taking care of kids and making sure kids have bright futures.
Parents needed to sign their kids up for the event ahead of time. Well, if you're ever on the go and want to still be able to watch our newscast live, just download the KOAM Plus app. It's available free of charge on the app store of your choice. Just search for KOAM Plus.
All right, as we head into the weekend, we do have building storm chances, about a 40% chance of some scattered storms both Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday is going to be hot, but not too hot. And then the rain will bring the temperatures back down by Sunday as we head to 83. And of course, you can keep up with the latest forecast anytime, anywhere with the KOAM Skywatch weather app. You can just scan that QR code there, or you can search for the KOAM Skywatch weather app in your favorite app store. It's like having Skywatch weather team in your pocket.
All right.
Everywhere you go, there we are.
Yep. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Colgan Panthers come off a disappointing 4-5 season last year, but set their sights this season on higher goals with a solid returning group of talent. Chris has the details in sports.
Plus, we'll take you to a regenerative farm that's not only good for the environment and the community, but also people needing a second chance.
And the FDA issues a ruling allowing for the availability of over-the-counter hearing aids. We'll tell you what this means and who the ruling applies to. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
The Colgan Panthers are halfway through their first week of football practice. Colgan is looking to bounce back this season after going 4-5 overall last year. The Panthers have a really great group returning this fall. That includes quarterback Tucker Harrell, running back Cooper Simmons, and receivers Keegan Fleming and Colin Height. Like last year, Colgan's schedule is really tough early. They go to Frontenac and to Girard right off the bat, so fall camp is pretty important to make sure the Panthers are ready to go week 1.
We're always going to play a tough league schedule, and starting off with Frontenac, Girard, and Riverton is no different. But where we like getting challenged early, it makes these early practices really mean something when you've got monsters like that waiting for you right out of the gate. And then we feel like it really prepares us as we head into district and into the playoffs. So we're excited to get to play two of our big rivals right out of the gate that are really well coached and really good football teams.
I think it's great. I think we got a lot of players, like I said, we're hungry and we're ready to step up to that challenge and do whatever it takes. And we're not scared to go into a game. Like, we have confidence in each other. We've seen how hard we've worked all year. We like the feeling of right off the bat getting a big game.
Well, Kansas City Chiefs add defensive tackle Danny Shelton last week on a 1-year contract. Shelton was a first-round pick back in 2015 and won a Super Bowl with the Patriots. He spoke to the media at training camp in St. Joe on Tuesday on why Kansas City was the place he chose to land.
I've always been, a fan of Spags and how he runs things, and then Andy Reid too, So just the opportunity to be out here. Obviously, we got these high-caliber players on our team. It excites me to be able to compete with them and, hopefully learn something that I can add to my toolbox,
Well, Kansas City Royals finished up a 3-game series with the Minnesota Twins yesterday afternoon. The Royals trying to avoid the sweep after dropping the first 2 games of the series. They're also trying to get the bats going. They've scored 2 runs the last 2 days. Now, Jose Miranda there. That's a 2-run shot for the Twins. It's 2-0 in the first. Second inning, Max Kepler grounder. The throw on the double play attempt gets away. Check this out. Runner waved around third. Make it all the way home to put the Royals down 3. In the fourth, Bobby Witt Jr. down the line, but Nick Gordon slides and makes the great catch. It's another one of those days at the plate for Kansas City. They didn't score. Twins get the sweep, taking this one 4-0. Well, in the National League last night, Game 2 of the series between the Rockies and Cardinals. The Cards won Game 1 Tuesday night, 5-4, and they've won 13 of their last 17. St. Louis wins this one 5-1. Nolan Gorman goes 2 for 4 with a double and 3 RBIs. Well, still to come, new satellite images show the effect drought is having on the UK, and it's turning the kingdom brown. Plus, got to check that forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. We are starting the day off nice and cool and clear, except for some of the outlying areas. We are experiencing some patchy fog, so do watch out, because on my morning drive, I ran into some pretty thick, dense areas of fog. Now, again, it was patchy, so it only lasted a 1/10 of a mile, and then it was clear again. But do be on the lookout for that fog. 64 in Joplin as we start the day. We are starting the day cool across the area. Fort Scott coming in at the coolest place at 59. 61 in Iola, 62 Parsons, 63 in Welch, and 63 in Neosho. So not a bad start to the day overall, and it's not going to get too terribly hot as we get through the day. Partly cloudy skies, 84 by 5. And we may see a thunderstorm or 2, mostly on the Missouri side. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies with a nice east breeze. That nice east breeze switches south, stays pretty light. Skies remain partly cloudy as we go through the evening. Overnight lows dropping once again back into the lower 60s. And as we head into the weekend, because that's coming up, we're just, a day and a half away if you want to, if you're ready for it. 94 on Saturday, 83 on Sunday. So hot, but not too hot on Saturday. Partly cloudy skies for the most part, but we do have some scattered thunderstorm chances as we head into the weekend, but not too bad. And as we've been telling you, don't forget, for the latest forecast anytime, anywhere, you can download the Skywatch Weather app. Do so by scanning that QR code, or you can just search for KOAM Skywatch Weather in your favorite app store. Or a A regenerative farming program is fighting two battles in California: climate change and reintroducing former inmates into society. Tom Vakar has more on that story.
The grand expansion of the Dig Deep Farms and All-In Foods project at Fremont's Ardenwood Farms aims to create living wage jobs, produce regenerative foods, and support local farmers. This project was originally developed by the Sheriff's Department to help recently incarcerated people get back into society with marketable skills. Now the whole thing is growing in size and scope.
We bring people out of custody now. They make about $23 an hour working for us, and we want to have it a transitional job. And as you know, it's easier to get a job if you have a job.
More importantly, it's providing fresh produce for county residents, especially food insecure or ailing residents. It's also a cooperative effort from public agencies and private companies that is a model for the nation.
We're making people earn their money and showing them a way to restorative justice.
Regenerative farming practices capture global warming carbon from the air and put it into the soil where it does no harm to the environment, but a lot of good to the food. Carbon-rich soils produce more nutritious foods and are more pest-resistant without need for synthetic chemicals or fertilizers. They're easier to rotate, and because they retain moisture, have greater resilience against floods and droughts. Hilary Bass, the heart and soul of the effort, says using eco-friendly regenerative farming can also regenerate people.
If we invest in the things that people need to be healthy and well and happy and joyful and connected, maybe people will make really good decisions and be less likely to get caught up in a mistake.
Martin Rodriguez toiled here for 4 years when it was in private hands. Now retired, he often stops by to give workers water, no matter their background.
My heart goes out to those who don't have, and then the ones that have that are willing to share.
To sum it up, police reform.
Regenerative farming, done on a massive scale, is a significant way to reduce greenhouse gases.
That brings us to our morning talker. Do you feel that incarcerated individuals deserve a second chance? Yes or no? You can vote at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do so in the app, and of course take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We're back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, you might want to think twice about adding salt to your meal. It's now linked to earlier deaths. A study looked at 500,000 people in the UK and how much salt they added to their food after it was cooked. Almost a decade later, researchers followed up with participants. They found that the more salt people had added to their meals, the greater their chance of an early death. The findings were published in July's European Heart Journal. American Heart Association recommends adults consume no more than 2,300 milligrams of salt per day. However, the ideal limit is 1,500 milligrams per day. Now, if you really love salt, you can lower your risk by eating more fruits and vegetables. Well, here's some good news if you're trying to maintain a healthy diet and you have a sweet tooth. That'd be me. A new study suggests ice cream is better for you than multi-grain bagels. Researchers at Tufts University ranked the nutrition of various foods on a scale of 1 to 100. A cone with nuts and chocolate ice cream scored a 37. Multi-grain bagel with raisins got a 19. Saltine crackers, only a 7. Now, you might be surprised to learn plain Fritos chips also scored well, receiving a ranking of 55. The FDA has announced it's finalized a rule allowing retailers to sell hearing aids for some adults over the counter. The devices are not always covered by insurance and have not been easy for people to get, but this decision may help change that. Mandy Gaither has more on the ruling and when it goes into effect.
It's an historic FDA ruling for people over the age of 18 with mild or moderate hearing problems. By mid-October, hearing aids that might help them will be available over the counter.
We have one set of ears, so it's incredibly important that we treat them well.
The decision will allow people to buy hearing aids directly from stores or online without a medical exam or prescription. The FDA says close to 30 million adults in the U.S. may need the devices. The agency says this rule will make getting the devices easier and more affordable.
When hearing isn't managed appropriately, it can have all sorts of consequences, from feelings of social isolation, to anxiety, to depression.
The Cleveland Clinic's Dr. Sarah Sidlowski, who's president of the American Academy of Audiology, calls this a wonderful first step, but says over-the-counter hearing aids won't be the final step for many, especially those who have more significant hearing problems.
Anytime that someone questions how it feels, how it sounds, whether their hearing perhaps is only in one ear or happens suddenly, or if they have any kind of drainage, they should absolutely bypass over-the-counter hearing aids and come directly to an audiologist.
FDA says the rule applies to certain air conduction hearing aids. The hearing aids intended for severe hearing impairment or hearing aids for those under the age of 18 will continue to be prescription devices under the new rule. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
All right, so I have to tell you something that I just learned. This is kind of developing news. Panasonic has developed a refrigerator that will come to you whenever you call for it. So if you need some food, feeling like a midnight snack, you don't even have to get out of bed. You just call for the fridge, and here it comes with your snack inside. Now, I don't know how you send it back to where it came from, but yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing. Something else is pretty... What? I didn't see an actual official name for it. Real quick check of the forecast. Temperatures today under partly cloudy skies pushing into the mid-80s. Maybe an isolated storm or two, mostly on the Missouri side. Overnight lows will once again get back into the lower 60s, and then we'll start to warm up tomorrow ahead of our next batch of showers and thunderstorms that'll try rolling in here on Friday. And of course, they'll last into the weekend as well. Storm chances increase. 94 Saturday, 83 on Sunday. And those rain chances keep temperatures in check for the next few days with really nice overnight lows. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, the nationwide spread of monkeypox comes to the 4 states as Missouri reports its 25th case.
Dealing with some fog across the area, pretty dense in some locations, but it'll be a nice day afterwards with some rain chances. The latest coming up.
And kids in Carthage get back to school with a little help from Bright Futures. It gives away almost 1,000 backpacks filled with school supplies.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:31. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So we were talking about the fog. Ran into some on the way in. You said you ran into some. Now the good news is it's patchy fog. So you're not running into just a continuous miles-long block of dense fog, but some of those patches are pretty dense. Visibility got reduced to almost zero for maybe upwards of a tenth, a quarter of a mile in some spots, at least on my drive in here. But fog will clear out.
That's good.
It will go away. It does that, usually when the sun comes out. And as the sun comes out, we're heading for a pretty nice day, actually. So it's going to be warm. It's going to be warmer than it was yesterday, but not hot, not too hot yet. And we do have some isolated storm chances. So we got that to contend with. We got all that much needed rain coming in. And the thing that still gets me is the fact that with the rain we just saw, we're now 1.5 inches above average or above normal for the year, even though it's been so dry lately. And it just that reminder that all of our rain for the year fell in May.
Right.
And then it just stopped, and it stayed pretty dry after that. So it's crazy to think that despite the drought situation, we're 1.5 inches above normal for rainfall, but we're still in a drought because it just stopped. But the good news is August is looking to be a pretty damp month, possibly even as we head into September. So we're going to be able to catch up on some rain that we need around the area, even though we are again above average.
I have noticed that my yard is starting to green up again.
Yeah, our mowing guys actually had to mow.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. We talked about there's Lake KOAM out in front of our building. It's just this low-lying bowl right in front of our building that anytime it rains, it fills with water. Well, the last rain we got, a week or so ago, didn't fill up. That ground absorbed all of the rain. But I noticed yesterday when I looked out the window, I said, oh my gosh, there's actually water in Lake KOAM. So that's also a good sign that the ground has absorbed as much water as it wants to, at least here. And hopefully, we're going to see I've seen some greener crops as well. There were some areas along Old 96 where some of that corn was pretty dead. It was pretty brown. And it's starting to green up a little bit. So
makes me wonder if it's too little too late, though.
That is an issue that some farmers are facing. But at least for those that are still out there that still have crops that are growing, they're now finally getting rain that they desperately need. So hopefully it'll help out just a little bit. 7th and Range line looking pretty good so far. No fog in the city of Joplin, at least not on my drive this morning. 64 is where we sit. And we're all in the 60s. Fort Scott's finally joined the 60s club. They've been at 59 this morning. We're in the lower to mid 60s. We had 62 Parsons, 64 in Columbus, and 61 down in Anderson. As we go through the day, temperatures will rise into the mid 80s. And you see those little thunderstorm icons. We do have a chance for some isolated thunderstorms later this afternoon, this evening, mostly on the Missouri side. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies with a nice east breeze. And going into the night, temperatures once again drop off into the lower 60s. Wind switches out of the south, but it's a very calm breeze, so it's going to be pretty nice and partly cloudy skies. We'll talk about the weekend forecast and additional rain chances here in just a little bit.
All right, sounds like a plan. Thanks, Chris. Well, concerns are growing with monkeypox cases on the rise throughout the country. KOAM's Jalen Banks has more on what the virus means to Southwest Missouri.
According to the CDC, monkeypox cases are nearing 13,000 in the U.S., and monkeypox cases are up to 25 in Missouri, where there were only 10 just 2 weeks ago. Newton County health officials say they are still finding ways to navigate the virus.
To figure out the transmission for possible contact surface, so if someone has monkeypox and say they have blisters on their hands and they touch, for example, a desk surface, books, things of that nature, could there be transmission? And we're not sure of that just yet.
Vaccines have not yet been ordered, but aren't off the table.
We don't have it at the health department as of yet. I was not going to order it until we start to see a demand for it, and so far we've had no demand for it. So I don't want to order vaccine and have it set and expire. But certainly if we start to see cases in Newton County, we will get vaccine available as soon as we have cases.
Newton County Health Department aren't the only ones with monkeypox on its radar. Mercy Hospital gave this statement on the looming virus. After years of preparing for emerging infections, including SARS, Ebola, and COVID-19, Mercy is well prepared for the possibility of monkeypox cases in our communities. In Southwest Missouri, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
If you want to track how many cases are in each state, just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. A local middle school gives families a chance to see what the school is like before classes start. The Carthage Intermediate Center hosted an open house. Families were able to meet teachers, bus drivers, and tour the building.
And I think that's huge. It's super important for the schools to work with the families in order to kind of bring that full potential out in our kids. And I love seeing this many families, this many kids. Our parking lots are full, like our building is full. It's great. I love seeing that level of involvement and excitement about the school year.
Students were also able to drop off school supplies in their lockers during the event. Well, some kids put the school year on their back at an event on Wednesday. Kids in Carthage were able to get some school supplies ahead of the school year. Bright Futures hosted an event at the Bridge Church to hand out backpacks filled with school supplies, almost 1,000 of them, in fact. Organizers say they want every kid to start off school on the right foot.
Oh, this is why I do what I do. I've got the greatest job in the world. I've worked for the greatest school district in the world. I live in the greatest community in the world. Get to do the greatest things in the world, taking care of kids and making sure kids have bright futures.
Parents needed to sign up their kids in advance for the event.
So as we head into the weekend, temperatures looking hot, but not too hot on Saturday, 94 for an afternoon high. And then the rain that we're going to have through the weekend brings us down to 83 by Sunday. So these are scattered storm chances, so not a complete washout, but definitely keep an eye to the sky for some of those thunderstorms. And a quick look at the 7-day shows us where those rain chances are through the weekend. As we head into next week, they help keep the temperatures down Monday and Tuesday before we start to warm back up again by Wednesday under partly cloudy skies.
All right. Well, this morning we're discussing a second chance for people in prison. The Dig Deep Farm and the All in Foods project at Arden Woods Farms has a unique labor force. The project was originally developed by the Sheriff's Department to help recently incarcerated people get back into society with marketable job skills. Some would argue the farm project is a win-win-win situation. They're providing food to eat, but they're also providing what's called a regenerative farm, in that they're capturing global warming carbon and putting it into the soil, which is good for the environment and for the crops.
And they're also providing a second chance to incarcerated individuals that they see as an investment, and that's good for the community. So that brings us to our question today. Do you believe that incarcerated folks deserve a second chance? It's a yes or a no, and you can see right now overwhelmingly yes at 84%. And 16% of you saying they do not. Make sure you vote, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. Do so in the KOAM News Now app, and of course, take part in the discussion on our Facebook page.
There you go. Quite a range there.
Absolutely.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, the threat of inflation is not just hanging over Americans' heads. The UK hits the highest inflation rate in more than 40 years. It's hitting the Brits hard.
Plus, we've got a story you can let your hair down to as an 8-year-old boy combs his way to the finals of the USA Mullet Competition. We'll have that story.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, the UK's environment and farming organizations are urging government officials to better manage water resources and move away from fossil fuels. This after authorities announced Friday that large swaths of England have officially descended into drought. The National Farmers Union called on the British government to prioritize water for food production and environmental protection. And Greenpeace UK criticized the government for continuing to offer lucrative investment incentives to fossil fuel companies. Organization is calling on UK officials to switch to green energy as quickly as possible. Well, the UK's cost of living situation just got worse. Inflation is now the highest it's been in more than 40 years. It rose to 10.1% in July. As Anna Stewart reports, it's hitting the Brits hard.
It's the highest inflation since 1982, and it's the highest inflation of the G7 nations. The UK's cost of living crisis is getting worse, with inflation numbers for July coming in at 10.1%, exceeding estimates. Increased energy prices continue to play a large role here. In the last 12 months, gas prices are up over 95%, electricity over 50%, and fuel for transportation like petrol not far behind. And now increased input prices like energy are pushing up products in other categories, particularly food. Overall, food and non-alcoholic drink prices are up around 13% from a year ago, with key staples hit hard. Just look at the price increases for a pint of milk in the UK, up 40% from last July, or a bag of flour, up 30%. This will hit the poorest households the hardest, given energy and food usually take up a greater proportion of their overall spending. And that is why the Institute of Fiscal Studies said this week that the poorest quintile of the UK could expect an 18% inflation rate come October, while the wealthiest quintile would experience it at 11%. The Bank of England expects overall consumer inflation to top 13% in October before coming down, but this latest reading for July overshot their expectations, and there are concerns it will need to take an even more aggressive approach with interest rates, despite raising them 6 times already since December.
That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The CDC says the number of monkeypox cases in the state of Missouri is up to 25. According to the CDC, the total number of confirmed monkeypox cases nationwide is nearing 13,000. Newton County health officials says they're closely monitoring the situation and still trying to figure other ways the virus might spread. As of Wednesday, Newton County Health Department does not have monkeypox vaccines. Crawford County election officials finished recounting ballots for the Value Them Both amendment. In total, 9 Kansas counties saw recounts on the amendment following a request by pro-life supporters. According to county officials, Crawford County overall remained a no-vote county, the only in southeast Kansas. Crawford County is the only county in the area that had a recount on the question. And though classes have not started yet, the Joplin School District staff is back at work and on Wednesday had a little fun. The district hosted its opening day ceremony. It's the first time the ceremony has been hosted in person since the pandemic started. Teachers, administrators, and other staff from all of the district schools were treated to skits and performances. After the ceremony, many of the staff members took part in professional development opportunities. Missouri Southern welcomed international students to campus with a resource fair. The goal of the fair is to let the new Lions know what resources are available to them, both on campus and in the community. Officials say there are 50 international students on campus so far, with 10 more on the way. Students say this event is very helpful in their transition. Classes begin at MSSU on Monday. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Some patchy fog to start the day and cool temperatures, all of us in the lower to maybe mid 60s as we head out the door. Now, as the day goes on, it's really going to warm up, but not too bad. We're pushing highs in the mid to maybe upper 80s with some isolated storm chances later this evening, mainly on the Missouri side. Then those clear out and we are left with partly cloudy skies overnight. Temperatures getting back into the lower 60s with a nice light south breeze. And the weekend forecast, something I know everybody's looking forward to. Unfortunately, it's going to be a bit rainy. Scattered thunderstorms Saturday and Sunday. Now 94 on Saturday, but the rain helps bring temperatures down to the lower 80s on Sunday. And bear in mind, these are scattered thunderstorms, so it's not necessarily going to be a complete washout with partly cloudy skies otherwise. Those storms keep us cool in a way as we head into next week. Temperatures are in check, 88 on Monday, 90 on Tuesday. We start to warm up by midweek, but overnight lows remain nice in the 60s. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
An 8-year-old from Menominee, Wisconsin with a rock star do is advancing in the kids division of the USA Mullet Championship.
Now, Ellie Joe Parmalu met with Mullet Boy and got the business and party info about his flow.
8-year-old Emmett Bailey, also known as Mullet Boy, got the chance to show off his hairstyle Thursday night when he threw the opening pitch for the Eau Claire Express game.
I'm pretty excited. I mean, it's a big deal. The Express are a big deal in the Eau Claire community and the community and ourselves, and so to have him out there throwing the first pitch is pretty exciting.
Emmett not only advancing onto the mount, but also to the top 25 in the kids division of the USA Mullet Championship. The achievement selected by voters on Facebook earlier this week.
It was extremely fun to watch the votes. So it started out at, I think there's 600 kids that made the Facebook cut, and then it went to 100. And then all of a sudden we're watching the votes, and he kept climbing and climbing and climbing, and then he went to the 25.
The 8-year-old says he's been waiting a while to show off his mullet.
The last year my parents found out about it, but it already started, so then we did it this year.
For Emmett's dad, Eric, the USA Mullet Championship is all about inspiring people to bring the 80s hairstyle back while supporting a good cause.
So it started out just mullets in general. They've come back in full force, and they're pretty fun to have. And it was $10 to enter. And that and all the donations are going to the Michigan Wig Foundation for kids.
The winner of the contest will get $2,500. The Menominee student says he knows how he would spend the prize money.
Buy a go-kart.
That's what he said. He wants a go-kart. So we're a big race family. So I told him if he wants a go-kart to start his racing career, by all means, Dad will help you out with the rest.
And if you're looking to add a little business to the front and party in the back of your hair, Eric has some fatherly advice.
It does take some time to grow because this is 2 years in the making to get this one, but have fun with it.
Win or lose, the Baileys say the experience has already been more than they could have asked for.
Drink lots of milk. It'll grow faster.
That is one heck of a mullet.
Hey, could you get a mullet? Since you don't have much on top, but that doesn't matter. You just need to grow it back here.
We talked about this yesterday. The problem is if my hair, if I don't cut it, it just curls. It'll curl into my ears. It starts curling up the back here, and it just kind of joins, and it looks really bad. I mean, it looks really bad.
Okay, so if you guys think that Chris should try to grow a mullet, please send him lots of messages.
No, that's all right,
On
really.
Messenger.
I'll let this kid take the
Facebook Messenger,
championship.
just send it to him. Chris Warner with the mullet.
Oh,
My
gosh.
senior prom date had a mullet.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Mine did not.
That was a long time ago. Well, voting for the kids division of the USA Mullet Championship is not yet live. Will be soon, though.
Yeah, it certainly will. And you know what else is coming up soon? More rain. We'll talk about it coming up. We've got some fog to contend with this morning. This is the fog tracker. Now, the good news is we're not just socked in with fog. We do have some patchy areas, and some of it is on the dense side. I certainly encountered some on the way in here, so do be careful as you start your day. 7th range line, skies are clear. Otherwise, we are starting off chilly by August standards, 63 in Joplin right now. And I wanted to show you real quick something you may or may not know. It's always fun to say. If your dew point and your temperature are the same, your humidity will always be 100%. And that's why it's 97%, because the dew point is 62. It's also why we're dealing with fog this morning. We have a cool start across the area, 60 in Iola, Fort Scott, and Nevada, 63 in Pittsburgh, 60 in Miami, and 63 in Neosho. And as we go through the day, it will warm up and the fog will, of course, burn off. We have some isolated storm chances, mainly on the Missouri side. Afternoon highs pushing the mid to upper 80s, 77 by 8 o'clock with a nice east breeze. As we go into tonight, temperatures will drop back under partly cloudy skies into the lower 60s to start our Friday with a light south wind and some passing clouds. And of course, the weekend. We got increasing storm chances Saturday and Sunday. 94 on Saturday, so it's hot but not too hot. 83 on Sunday. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, Crawford County election officials finish recounting ballots in regards to the Value Them Both amendment.
Nice start to the day, actually even a chilly start to the day, but it will warm up and maybe some rain. We'll talk all about that coming up.
And Missouri Southern welcomes its international students with a resource fair.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
It is 6 a.m. on a Thursday. If it's Thursday, then you know that means I've lost my ability to read what's on that teleprompter, as happened earlier.
Turned into a true Looney Tune.
Well, see, I mean, the Warner Brothers were involved in that, so that's where that comes from. Yeah, this is no joke. So when I was a kid, I went to school at Cecil Floyd in Joplin, and by the time I reached about the 3rd grade, other kids had realized what my last name was. And the Animaniacs was very popular on TV at the time. And I'm not kidding. I had kids come up to me and see if I could submit their story ideas, their show ideas to them because my last name was Warner.
Oh, because they thought you were like the son of one of the Warner brothers or something?
Yes, they did. They certainly did. As time went on, they learned that wasn't the case because I was in a nice upper middle class family. If I was one of the Warner brothers, I feel that we would have had a slightly bigger house than what we had when I was growing up. But it was always
hiding
interesting.
in incognito, searching for true talent. There you go.
That's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm still here. I'm still searching for true talent to take back with me to Hollywood, to the Warner movie lot.
I'm ready to go. No, just kidding.
Well, it's been nice, everybody. Tanya, let's head on out of here. We got movies to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought this on was in our last half hour, Chris started, I don't know, you started making some noises that sounded, I wanted you to finish it with, that's all, folks.
Yeah, I was reading something and I for some reason, just drew a blank on the words and it just turned into that story.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
Perfect. It was perfect.
It was completely unintentional. I just drew a blank right there.
I didn't even have a connection with the Warner Brother name. Yeah.
Well, they made all the Merry Melodies before they became, Looney Tunes.
Yeah, well, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's why I'm a little Looney Tune-y myself, as you mentioned.
It's all coming together now.
Is it making sense for the folks at home now why I am the way I am? I hope so. My wife understands. She puts up with it. She tolerates it. But hopefully you at home now understand what's going on. So we were talking about fog. We are dealing with some patchy fog across the area this morning. That's thanks to the fact that our humidity and dew points and temperatures are all very closely related this morning. 7th range line in Joplin, 63 degrees right now as we start our day. Humidity is 97% with a dew point of 62. We are sitting in the lower to mid-60s. Actually, now we've got mostly lower 60s across the board. 63 Pittsburgh and Joplin, 62 Neosho, and 61 in Anderson. Not bad way to start the day. It will warm up under partly cloudy skies after the fog burns off. Afternoon highs pushing the mid to upper 80s with some isolated storms, mostly on the Missouri side. And as we go through tonight, no more storm chances tonight, but partly cloudy skies. Overnight lows getting down back into the lower 60s once again. There are some changes on the way. We're going to talk about all those changes and the weekend forecast here in just a little bit.
All right. Sounds like we got a plan.
We always have a plan. Every morning
try, anyway.
we have a plan.
We may deviate a little bit.
Whether
but
it
we have a
goes
plan.
to plan is, because see, this is our plan actually. This is our plan that our producers
This
put
one,
together.
and this
All
one.
these pages are plans.
And this one, yes.
Now, what we're doing right now was not in that plan. So they give us a plan, and whether or not
Oh,
we
we're done with
actually
that one.
stick with it is a whole nother story. But just know that there was a plan when we started this morning.
Yes, and we should move along with the plan.
We do need to move along with the plan because you got some news for us.
That's right. Although classes have not started yet, the Joplin School District staff are back at work and on Wednesday had a little fun. The district hosted its opening day ceremony. It's the first time the ceremony has been hosted in person since the pandemic started. Teachers, administrators, and other staff from all of the district schools were treated to skits and performances.
Really, really important for us to have an opportunity to pull all of our staff together and really just set the stage for the year. So we'll have a little fun, we'll have a little encouragement and some motivation, and just get prepared to welcome our kids back on Monday.
Well, after the ceremony, many of the staff members took part in professional development opportunities. A local middle school gives families a chance to see what the school is like before classes start. The Carthage Intermediate Center hosted an open house. Families were able to meet teachers, bus drivers, and tour the building.
And I think that's huge. It's super important for the schools to work with the families in order to kind of bring that full potential out in our kids. And I love seeing this many families, this many kids. Our parking lots are full, like our building is full. It's great. I love seeing that level of involvement and excitement about the school year.
Students were also able to drop off school supplies in their lockers during the event. Missouri Southern welcomes international students to campus with a resource fair. The goal of the fair is to let the new Lions know what resources are available to them, both on campus and in the community. Officials say there are 50 international students on campus so far, with 10 more on the way. And the students say this event is very helpful in their transition.
I think it's so amazing and surprised because I never have been this. I never have this event in Korea, so I'm very thankful and thankful for everybody.
Classes begin at Missouri Southern on Monday. Coffeyville Fire Department is now able to purchase some new equipment thanks to a donation. Magellan Midstream Partners, a Tulsa-based partnership, donated $9,400 to the department for a new thermal imaging camera with a laser finder. This piece of equipment will be used to help search for possible victims inside a building during a fire. It'll also be used to find remnants of the fire during the salvage and overhaul stage.
For us is because of our secondary searches are so important to ensure that all occupants and animals are out of the structure. And having that capability allows us to do our job better.
The current thermal imaging camera is over 20 years old. Crawford County election officials finished recounting ballots for the Value Them Both amendment. In total, 9 Kansas counties saw recounts on the amendment following a request by pro-life supporters. According to the county officials, Crawford County overall remained a no-vote county, the only in southeast Kansas.
Our elections are very secure in the state of Kansas. Here in Crawford County, we have an excellent reputation. Our votes have come out pretty darn close, so yeah, it will not change anything.
Lusker did not release specific recount numbers. Crawford County is the only county in the area that had a recount on the question. Well, today, back in 1920, the 19th Amendment is ratified, all thanks to one vote. A dramatic battle in the Tennessee House of Representatives ends with the state ratifying the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution. After decades of struggle and protest by suffragettes across the country, the decisive vote cast by a 24-year-old representative who reputedly changed his vote after receiving a note from his mother. America's suffrage movement was founded in the mid-19th century by women who had become politically active through their work in the abolitionist and temperance movements. In July of 1848, 200 women suffragists organized by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott, met in Seneca Falls, New York to discuss women's rights after approving measures asserting the right of women to educational and employment opportunities. They passed a resolution that declared it is the duty of the women in this country to secure to themselves their sacred right to this elective franchise.
That's an interesting part of our history. Just overall, how, initially, the only rights that were granted were to white male property owners.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And I mean, we got to think back. We have to remember, I mean, that's how we started. We look at how times are now. We've got to remember how far this country has come from that.
Still have a little ways to go, but we've come a long way.
I mean, when you think about it, I only rent. I don't actually own any property. So if we were still back in those times, I may not have any rights, just myself, because I own no property.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing is, I mean, the way the world is, how many of you out there own property in the sense that it was all those years ago in terms of actual physical property, not a vehicle?
Did it have to be, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Did it have
because
to be
back
land?
then it would have been land.
Well, there weren't vehicles, so.
Exactly. So
like
and so that's what I'm
horses
saying.
and- yeah.
Like, how many of us rent? So we have come a long way. Things may not be perfect yet, but we have come a long way from where we used to be.
That's true.
Quick check of the weekend forecast shows scattered showers and thunderstorms Saturday and Sunday. 94 on Saturday with a high of 83 rather on Sunday because of the rain. Quick look at the 7-day too shows where the rain keeps our temperatures down for Monday, and then they slowly start to creep up into the lower 90s by Tuesday and Wednesday.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we meet a lucky man whose life was saved by off-duty police officers.
Plus, a school district in Texas is pulling books from the Bible to Anne Frank. We'll tell you why.
And we'll explain why standing up at work is good for you. You're
do a lot of
watching
that.
the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, a North Texas school district removes 41 books from its school libraries. The Keller Independent School District says it is reviewing the titles that were challenged over the last year. Books on the list include all versions of the Bible and Anne Frank's diary, the graphic adaptation. Earlier this month, the school board adopted a new book selection policy and guidelines. It requires any challenged book to be pulled from the shelves until a review is complete. Some of the books were previously approved by a committee of parents, teachers, and administrators. That's a look at one of today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
A Utah man went through a terrifying ordeal after having a medical emergency while on a kayak. The outcome could have been much worse if a group of off-duty police officers had not been nearby. Emily Tenser has the story.
A day off on the water went from serene to scary for one man floating out alone on his kayak.
I was just about to give it up.
It was a hot afternoon near the end of July, and suddenly Dave Merrill's blood sugar level plummeted.
I just kind of blanked out and tipped my kayak.
Suddenly, he was in the lake, swallowing water, his life jacket on the kayak.
And I saw them just barely able to keep my head up.
He saw a group of off-duty South Salt Lake police officers on a boat.
I mean, they were just kind of enjoying a day on the lake, and we just happened to be so lucky there.
The officers were able to pull him to safety and get a first aid kit to get his blood sugar level back on track.
I thanked him right off the bat, like, you guys have no idea how close that was.
Merrill was able to reunite with the officers who saved him. He wrote them a letter thanking them. And now, next time he goes back out on the water, he'll be more careful.
I know I'll never take the chance again with, not wearing the gear. And they, yes, definitely saved my life, without a doubt.
Merrill says the episode hasn't discouraged him from going back out on the water. We're dealing with some foggy conditions this morning, mostly patchy fog, but some of that patchy fog a little bit on the dense side, especially where you see some of those darker gray colorings just north of Joplin, for example, and over here in Barton County as well. Now that fog will eventually burn off, and give way to partly cloudy skies, which in Joplin, not dealing with any fog in the city, and you can see some pretty clear skies overhead. 63 is where we are right now in the city, and we are all sitting in roughly the 60s this morning. 61 Yates Center, 60 Iola, Fort Scott, and Nevada, 63 Pittsburgh, 62 Neosho, and 62 in Cassville. And as we go through the day, temperatures will eventually warm up. Under partly cloudy skies, temperatures will get into the mid to upper 80s with some isolated storm chances later this evening, mostly on the Missouri side, and these will be very isolated as the day goes on. No storm chances overnight at this point. Partly cloudy skies, temperatures dropping back again into the lower 60s with a light south breeze. As we head into the weekend, storm chances increase on both Saturday and Sunday. And thanks to the storm chances, we'll start hot, 94 on Saturday, and then get down to 83 on Sunday. So the one thing to keep in mind is it's not going to be a complete washout. These are scattered thunderstorms. So they'll be out there. You'll want to keep an eye to the sky, but it won't completely ruin your plans. And Saturday, it's going to be hot, but not too hot. And if you are out this weekend needing to keep up on the weather, you can do so with the KOAM Skywatch weather app. You can scan that QR code right there, or you can just search for KOAM Skywatch weather in your favorite app store. That way you can have the latest radar and forecast information wherever you are this weekend. Now you go through the day, you can see we've got those partly cloudy skies, and there's some of those isolated storms, maybe even one or two in southeast Kansas, but mostly confined to this side of the state line. Temperatures getting into the mid to upper 80s for some of us in southeast Kansas. As we head through the evening, still some partly cloudy skies. Temperatures will cool off again into the lower 60s. And then as we head into Friday, we have our next storm system coming in that'll bring us some of those isolated to scattered thunderstorms, and then they'll pick up again this weekend. So again, 40% chance is what we're looking at across the area of these scattered storms. They keep temperatures in check for at least a day or two, and then we'll slowly start to creep back up into the lower 90s by the middle of next week. And the one positive is, look at these overnight lows, still staying in the 60s. So not a bad trade-off. Maybe a little bit on the warm side, but the nights are going to be absolutely pleasant. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, if you're struggling to remember something, new research suggests just reach for your cell phone. While some experts believe too much tech can lead to digital dementia, scientists in Britain found phones may actually improve our memories. Ian Lee has the story from London.
Cell phones might seem like they're glued to our hands with the constant messaging, talking, and scanning of social media. So scientists in the UK wanted to know how that affects our brains.
We were interested in the way that people use devices like smartphones as an extension of their memory.
Dr. Sam Gilbert led a team of researchers from University College London. Using a computer program, 158 volunteers were given a memory task to do 16 times. For half of them, they had to rely on their own memory. For the rest, they could set reminders on a digital device.
When people have access to a digital memory, they offload the most important information into that digital memory. But this, in turn, frees up space that we can use to remember additional information.
So your important information is only as good as your battery life.
That's right. So you need to make sure that your devices are reliable.
Some folks agree digital reminders help boost their memory.
I would put in my dentist appointment, but I'd also then remind myself that, also my husband has one and my son has one, so I need to make sure that they go to theirs.
Others aren't convinced.
No, because I just have everything written down.
But researchers say remembering to outsource your memory just might improve it. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Researchers say their next step is to see if their findings can specifically benefit the elderly. A study is published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology General. A study in JAMA Network found 56% of people infected with the Omicron variant did not know it. Researchers at Cedars-Sinai say those undiagnosed infections can increase COVID transmission and likely contribute to the fast spread of Omicron. Well, determining genetic risk for prostate cancer at primary care appointments could lead to earlier diagnoses in men. Authors of the British study say high-risk patients can be fast-tracked and those with low genetic risk can avoid invasive biopsies. Stand up at work. A study out of the UK found standing desk, along with other measures, cut office workers' sitting time by an hour a day over the course of a year. That led to smaller improvements with stress, well-being, and energy levels on the job. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
You know, we do a lot of standing here. What people at home may not realize is like our news desk doesn't have chairs. We're actually standing back there. That's why I need a box. Maybe that's why we're so carefree and happy around here most of the time. I mean, the Joplin schools, their bash that they had, that's like behind the scenes here every day. And that's because we're standing all the time. We even have some stand-up desks in the newsroom because we just like to be happy and carefree. You do not want to be too carefree. If you're driving into some of this fog across the area, though, you want to be careful. It is dense in some areas. Right now at 7th and Range Line, look at the sky. It's looking pretty good. You can actually see some of the fog off to the north of Joplin, slowly but surely starting to lift and burn off, which will be nice. It'll give way to partly cloudy skies later. 63 in the city right now. 59 now in Iola and in Nevada, so they're the cool spot. 60 in Fort Scott, 64 in Pittsburgh, 60 in Miami, 62 in Neosho. So a very nice start to the day today. As we go through the day, after the fog burns off, we'll have partly cloudy skies, temperatures pushing into the mid to upper 80s. Some isolated storms, mainly on the Missouri side, and these will be very isolated with a light east breeze. South wind becomes very calm this evening. And we're going to drop back down into the lower 60s under partly cloudy skies. And the weekend is where we do have some rain chances, Saturday and Sunday. These are scattered storm chances, so not a complete washout. 94 on Saturday and 83 on Sunday. So hot, but not too hot. And a quick look at the 7-day forecast also shows us where these rain chances help us with temperatures. 88 on Monday, and then we slowly creep into the lower 90s by midweek next week. But as I've been saying all week, the one good thing is these overnight lows all staying in the 60s. We got more coming up.
Coming up, Crawford County election officials finish recounting ballots in regards to the Value Them Both amendment.
You can see the fog off in the distance on our tower cam at 7th and Range Line. It will eventually burn off. We'll tell you what it's going to leave behind coming up.
And Missouri Southern welcomes its international students with a resource fair.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. It is a beautiful day today in the 4 states. Every day in the 4 states is a beautiful day. You know?
Sure.
Everybody.
If you like all types of weather, then yes.
Well, that's the thing. For weather enthusiasts, every day is a wonderful day in the 4 states because you never know what you're going to get next. I mean, you know, we forecast it, but what I mean
say, wait a
is,
minute, you're the weather guy. You're supposed to know.
we know what you're going to get next. What I mean is, you know, it's going to be different each time. Let me say that. It'll be different each time.
Well, that's what I like about this job, too, because we do something, even though I'm always standing right here, it's something different that we're talking about every day.
Yeah. We have something, generally we have something new to tell you all the time. You know, and that was kind of my whole thing about getting into this business when I was 5 is I wanted to be the first to tell people important things. And that's what we do here.
Yep.
We want to be the first to tell you something important that you need to know. Now, we also want to be right, but you want to be the first to tell people things that are important.
And one thing that's important out there is to be aware that there is some fog still lingering around.
There is still some fog. Now, the good news is on this map, you can see there's not as much dark gray as we had earlier this morning. So the fog is slowly starting to burn off, but you can see where we are still looking at fog and some of the denser fog just to the northeast of Pittsburgh and northwest of Lamar as we start this day. You can actually see the fog on our tower cam at 7th and Range Line. Now, if you look close, you'll see Target down there in the front. So this is looking off to the northeast toward Missouri Southern. And so there's still some fog out there, but it is slowly burning off. Temperatures right now 63 degrees, and that fog will burn off and give us partly cloudy skies. We're all sitting in the lower 60s to start the day. Temperatures pushing into the mid to upper 80s with maybe some isolated storms, mainly on the Missouri side. And overnight tonight, partly cloudy skies with lows dropping off into the lower 60s. We're going to take a look at the weekend and the week ahead here in just a little bit.
All right. Yeah.
Everybody's working for the weekend.
And we've only got 2 days to go if you count today.
Yeah.
Most
So,
people
I
are
mean,
just getting up.
if we want to get really technical, let's see, that's 24, 36.
But when does your weekend start? What time does
38,
everybody has a different start time for the weekend too?
43, 44, something like 43 hours away. But yeah, Tanya's right, because your weekend, like our weekend tomorrow starts at 1 p.m. when we walk out the door. But for others, it may be 4, could be 5. Maybe you work a night shift and it doesn't start till 8. Maybe your weekend doesn't actually start until Saturday at like 7 a.m.
And some people work the weekends, so.
And yes, some people do work. I was one of those people for a while that worked the weekends. And so when I'd get in on a Friday and like, hey, all right, it's Friday. I'm like, that means absolutely nothing to me. You go celebrate your Friday.
I always get it when someone comes in at like their shift at 10 a.m. and they're like, oh, I'm so tired.
And we're already halfway through our day. See, that's a magical world of work.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, Missouri Southern on Wednesday welcomed international students to campus with a resource fair. The goal of the fair is to let new Lions know what resources are available to them both on campus and in the community. Officials say there are 50 international students on campus so far, with 10 more on the way. Students say this event is very helpful in their transition.
I want them to feel welcome here. We have many different resources here, but I think more importantly, as I've been telling them all week, we'll give you resources, we'll give you information, but I want relationships. It doesn't matter how many trophies, plaques, ribbons you earn in life. The thing that matters the most is the people that you do those things with.
Classes begin at MSSU on Monday. The Coffeyville, Kansas Fire Department is now able to purchase some new equipment thanks to a donation. Magellan Midstream Partners, a Tulsa-based partnership, donated $9,400 to the department for a new thermal imaging camera with a laser finder. This piece of equipment will be used to help search for possible victims inside a building during a fire. It will also be used to find remnants of the fire during the salvage and overhaul stage.
We are hoping that the piece of equipment that they buy will help save lives and help the community in the future.
The department's current thermal imaging camera is more than 20 years old. Well, good news for Oklahoma Highway Patrol troopers. Governor Kevin Stitt signed a pay raise into law and announced a new partnership to get more troopers on Oklahoma roads. The requirements have changed. Before, hopeful troopers needed either 62 credit hours or an associate's degree in hand to even apply. That's no longer the case.
It's really going to help these deputies, other municipal officers that want to come to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and they've gotten caught up in life and didn't have time to go through and get those 62 college credit hours.
Troopers are getting a 30% pay raise, the first raise in a decade. Crawford County election officials finished recounting ballots for the Value Them Both amendment. Crawford County was the only county in southeast Kansas to vote no on the amendment. KOAM's Shagun Bomadelli was there as officials recounted.
On August 2nd, Kansas voters rejected the Value Them Both amendment. If passed, the amendment would have allowed the legislature to restrict or ban abortions. Crawford County voters rejected the amendment, which led to a recount of votes.
We had orders from the Secretary of State's office. They came in on Monday about 6 o'clock to do a recount for just the constitutional amendment question. We had a private citizen in western Kansas request a recount, and so we were ordered to recount the votes.
I am in front of the Crawford County Courthouse, where Lisa Lusker, the Crawford County Clerk, tells me that the end recount is conducted by a bipartisan group of electoral officials that consist of Democrats and Republicans.
It's an election board. There are 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans from the county that have signed up to do this. They've done a great job.
Lusker also says that the Crawford County overall remained a no-vote county, but did not release the specific number of no's and yes votes following the recount.
Our elections are very secure in the state of Kansas. Here in Crawford County, we have an excellent reputation. Our votes have come out pretty darn close, so yeah, it will not change anything.
In Crawford, Shagun Bomadelli, KOAM News.
On August 2nd, Crawford County had 5,845 no votes and 4,653 yes votes on the Value Them Both amendment question. Well, today, back in 1992, Boston Celtics forward Larry Bird hangs it up. Bird was a high school basketball star in his native Indiana. After graduation, he received a scholarship to play for legendary coach Bobby Knight at Indiana University, one of the finest teams in the country. However, Bird was homesick and uncomfortable in the spotlight in Bloomington and left the school after 1 month. He returned to French Lick, his hometown, and eventually enrolled at the smaller Indiana State, far from a basketball powerhouse. There, Bird was a one-man offense, averaging 30 points per game as a sophomore, junior, and senior. Bird entered the NBA in 1979 and had an immediate impact on the league, winning Rookie of the Year after leading the Celtics to a 61-21 record and finished first place in the Atlantic Division after finishing in last place last year.
Certainly an impressive career.
It just shows that he didn't have to go to the powerhouse school to make his dreams come true.
Anybody, you can make your dreams come true if you just put your mind to it. And you might be able to make your dreams come true this weekend if you can dodge some of these scattered showers and thunderstorms on both Saturday and Sunday. 94, so hot, but not too hot on Saturday. And then the rain brings us down to the lower 80s on Sunday. But not bad otherwise. Partly cloudy in between those scattered showers and storms. And a quick look at the 7-day shows where temperatures stay nice into Monday, and then we creep into the lower 90s as we head into the middle of next week.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, the price of chicken wings is going down, saving consumers and restaurants money.
Plus, they say everyone deserves a second chance. However, some people may not feel that way when it comes to prisoners. And today we want to know, do incarcerated folks deserve a second chance? We let you weigh in. We'll be right back.
In Consumer Watch this morning, during the pandemic, hard seltzer saw a huge increase in popularity, but now there's something new on tap. Dina Dimitris explains.
Apple Pay, anything else?
No, that's it. Eddie Muchamel manages Village Market and Liquors in Los Angeles and says business boomed in 2020.
During the pandemic, everything was selling like crazy.
With bars and restaurants closed, Americans drank more at home, and sales of hard seltzers skyrocketed, even when people started socializing again.
Like if I go to a party, it's usually Trulies and White Claws and then maybe some beers, but those are definitely the dominant drink of choice.
Dozens of new hard seltzer brands have popped up in the past couple of years, but after a huge rise, sales are now starting to fizzle, down 10% this year.
There's always a product life cycle.
John Berg with Nielsen IQ says while seltzers remain very popular, another drink is taking up space at stores.
Those shoppers that had been trying hard seltzers are now trying the cocktails.
Canned cocktails contain spirits like vodka or whiskey, where hard seltzers are malt-based like beer. Sales for the ready-to-drink products are taking off, up 55% this year.
We were really ready for this canned cocktail moment.
Sam Calagione is the founder of Dogfish Head Brewery, which started as a beer company but has extended into canned cocktails. Dogfish is owned by Boston Beer. The company known for Sam Adams also makes the popular hard seltzer Truly. And now Truly is branching out.
We've already announced that we're going to come out with a line of Truly vodka seltzers. So kind of playing in this interesting white space between what was a traditional seltzer and sort of a vodka soda cocktail.
Canned cocktails are creating buzz, but analysts say trends can shift as tastes change. Dina Demetrius, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Personally not a fan of the canned cocktails. Apple is reportedly gearing up to unveil its new iPhone 14 and Apple Watch Series 8 at a September 7th launch event. That's according to Bloomberg. The tech giant is expected to stream the media event online, as it has been doing since the beginning of the pandemic, instead of holding it in person. It's also believed Apple will introduce new Macs and iPads this fall. Michigan is the most affordable state for retirees, while Florida ranks as the best state overall for retirement, and that's according to an annual study from Bankrate. Behind Michigan for affordability comes Tennessee and Missouri. And looking at best states overall for retirement, the study took into consideration well-being, culture and diversity, weather, and crime. Coming in second behind Florida on that list is Georgia, followed by Michigan, Ohio, and Missouri. Americans are finally catching a break when it comes to chicken wings. According to the Department of Agriculture, the average wholesale price of a pound of wings fell to $1.68 in July. That's their lowest since 2018. before the pandemic. Analysts predict those prices will be short-lived with football and basketball season just around the corner, boosting demand. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Chris for something to talk about.
Yeah, this morning we're discussing a second chance for people in prison. The Dig Deep Farm and the All In Foods project at Ardenwoods Farms has a unique labor force. A project was originally developed by the Sheriff's Department to help recently incarcerated people get back into society with marketable job skills. Now, some would argue the farm project is a win-win-win situation as they're providing food to eat, but they're also doing what's known as regenerative farming in that they're capturing global warming carbon and putting it back into the soil, which is good for environment and crops. They're also providing a second chance to incarcerated folks who they see as an investment, and of course that's good for the community. So that brings us to our question. Do you think incarcerated individuals deserve a second chance? Yes or no? 86% of you saying yes, 14% of you saying no. Make sure you vote, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do so in the app, and of course take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We'll be right back.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Tony Jamison. Private Second Class Jamison served in the Army from 2005 to 2008, a native of Cherokee, Kansas. We thank you, Tony Jamison, today's four-state hero.
It is now time for us to celebrate some birthdays and anniversaries on this fine, foggy Thursday morning, and we begin in St. Paul with Thomas Clark, who's turning 7 years old today. Happy birthday to you, Thomas.
All right, and we've got Alexa Schropp celebrating birthday number 8 this year in Frontenac.
And Sullivan Fincher in Pittsburgh turning 11, and this comes with love from family and friends. Happy birthday, Sullivan.
Right, Delilah Marie Daniels celebrating birthday number 94 this year in Erie, Kansas.
All right, we've also got Terry McInnes in Pittsburgh celebrating a birthday today, and this happy birthday message comes from the Crestline girls.
All right, sounds like a fun group. Tom and Dixie Hayward are celebrating their 60th anniversary today. Congratulations to the Haywards and Oswego.
We've also got Nancy Roten in Columbus celebrating a birthday today, as well as Tammy Williams, who is 64 in Girard. This coming with love from mom, dad, and the family. Patricia Cosby in Oswego celebrating, and Dale Purdy also celebrating a birthday today.
And that is our birthday and anniversary list for Thursday, August the 18th. If you've got a birthday or an anniversary, you can submit them to us easily online. You can easily send them to us in an email. Just send it to birthdays@KOAMtv.com or go to our website at birthdays.KOAMnewsnow.com.
And while you're there, there's something very important you can do. Do you know how important it is, Gabe?
Oh, yes, I do.
It's very important, isn't it, Gabe?
Yeah.
That's right, it is. It is the KOAM News Now Birthday Club. You get special deals from local businesses, and it's super easy to sign up for over at KOAMnewsnow.com. Coming up, when we switch over to the morning news on Fox 14, we have how genetic genealogy helps law enforcement agencies. However, as of right now, the cost to use that technology can be expensive. We'll have more on why this is when you switch over with us. And as you stick with us right now, look at the fog and look at how the sunlight is showing the fog. That's Target down there. So we're looking northeast toward Missouri Southern in Joplin on a foggy day, but the fog's slowly starting to burn off. 63 in Joplin under otherwise partly cloudy skies as we start the day. We've got some cool spots, 59 in Iola and Nevada, 60 Fort Scott, 61 in Parsons, 61 in Welch, and 61 in Anderson. Not a bad start to an August day. Now, as we head through the day, fog burns off. We get partly cloudy skies. Afternoon highs push in the mid to upper 80s with some isolated storm chances. And if we do see these, they're going to be mainly on the Missouri side with an east wind at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. We got another nice evening ahead of us under partly cloudy skies with lows dropping off into the lower 60s. And the wind shifts out of the south, but it remains light. Going into the weekend, that's where it's going to be a wet weekend. Scattered shower and thunderstorm chances Saturday and Sunday. 94 on Saturday, 83 on Sunday. So it's hot, but not as hot as it usually is. Partly cloudy otherwise. This is a complete washout, but we do have these storm chances to contend with. And while you're out this weekend, make sure, if you haven't already, that you download the KOAM Skywatch Weather app. You can scan that QR code right there, or you can search for KOAM Skywatch Weather in your favorite app store. That way you've got the radar and the latest forecast right with you wherever you go this weekend, and of course it's coming from the 4 states' most trusted weather team. Heading through the day, you see we've got the partly cloudy skies, and again a few of those isolated showers, maybe a rumble of thunder. Overnight, partly cloudy skies, some passing clouds and nice chilly overnight lows. And then tomorrow we start to see better storm chances working into the area, and they'll really pick up by the weekend, as we mentioned, with those storm chances Saturday and Sunday. Temperatures look decent by Monday, and then we start to creep back into the lower 90s by the middle of next week. We got to look at the news you need to know coming up.
Check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. CDC says the number of monkeypox cases in the state of Missouri is up to 25. According to the CDC, the total number of confirmed monkeypox cases nationwide is nearing 13,000. The Newton County health official says they're closely monitoring the situation and are still trying to figure other ways the virus might spread. As of Wednesday, the Newton County Health Department does not have monkeypox vaccines. Crawford County election officials finished recounting ballots for the Value Them Both amendment. In total, 9 Kansas counties saw recounts on the amendment following a request by pro-life supporters. According to county officials, Crawford County overall remained a no-vote county, the only in southeast Kansas. Crawford County is the only county in the area that had a recount on the question. And though classes have not started yet, Joplin School District staff are back at work, and on Wednesday had a little fun. The district hosted its opening day ceremony. It's the first time the ceremony has been hosted in person since the pandemic started. Teachers, administrators, and other staff from all of the district's schools were treated to skits and performances. After the ceremony, many of the staff members took part in professional development opportunities. And Missouri Southern welcomed international students to campus with a resource fair. The goal of the fair is to let the new Lions know what resources are available to them both on campus and in the community. Officials say there are 50 international students on campus so far, with 10 more on the way. The students say this event is very helpful in their transition. Classes begin at Southern on Monday. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Well, after the fog burns off, we'll have partly cloudy skies, temperatures pushing into the mid to upper 80s, and maybe an isolated storm or two this evening, mainly on the Missouri side, with an east wind at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. As we go through the night, partly cloudy skies, temperatures dropping back off into the lower 60s yet again with a light southerly breeze. And as we head into the weekend, 94 on Saturday, so hot but not too hot. And then 83 on Sunday, and we do have scattered storm chances on both of those days. The good news is it's not going to be a complete washout, but you'll definitely want to keep the Skywatch Weather app handy, which you can download it if you don't have it already by scanning that QR code or by searching for KOAM Skywatch Weather in your favorite app store.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making cold fudge cake in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. The cost of back-to-school supplies is soaring. Ahead on CBS Mornings, Adriana Diaz will show parents ways to save.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, 100 dogs are saved from a hoarding situation in Missouri.
Plus, the Canadian premier goes viral for accidentally swallowing a bee. Yeah, I don't ever want to experience that. That's going to wrap it up for us for now. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we're going to do it all again today at noon.
There's a fog outside.